All right, with the ACT right around the corner, I have my last set of tips here for you before you do the final two passages for Schoology class. All right, so the comma splice, this is probably the most common mistake that you guys are still making, and you will see it show up on the ACT. A comma splice is when people put a comma, like right here, between two full sentences, two complete clauses. He went to the store. That stands alone. He bought a sandwich and a soda. That also stands alone. There are three ways to fix this. So when you're looking for the options on the ACT, look for one of these. You can say he went to the store and keep that comma, but you got to add a conjunction like and. He went to the store and he bought a sandwich and a soda. You can just put a semicolon there. We talked about this in an earlier ACT tip video. He went to the store, semicolon, he bought a sandwich and a soda. Notice that the he after the semicolon is not capitalized. And of course, the most common way to fix a comma splice is just putting a period there and capitalizing the next sentence. He went to the store, period. He bought a sandwich and a soda. Another thing you're going to find on the ACT is misplaced modifiers. Excuse me. A quiz should happen periodically to keep students engaged and on track using concepts covered in class. So what I've done here is I've highlighted this modifier using concepts covered in class. Now a modifier by definition modifies one of the words or a phrase in the sentence, and it should be by that phrase. So what you got to ask yourself, what ACT is going to ask you is, where does that phrase go? Using concepts covered in class. Should we go no change? Well, does using concepts covered in class identify or modify the word track? I don't feel like it does. If you put it after periodically, a quiz should happen periodically using concepts covered in class. Better, but not quite yet. But if you look at C, a quiz using concepts covered in class should happen periodically to keep students engaged and on track. That is what is using concepts covered in class. It's the quiz. So it should go directly after the word quiz. And obviously, if you put it after the word students there, a quiz should happen periodically to keep students using concepts covered in class engaged and on track. Doesn't really make any sense at all. This next rule here is not a great rule. It's just a rule that ACT will catch you on if you don't know it. When you're talking in real life, who cares? But on the ACT, this matters. Infinitives, and an infinitive, in case you've forgotten, and I bet you have, is just the word to, T-O, followed by a verb. And so when it follows another verb, like in the sentence down here, the verb is loves, whatever follows that verb should be an infinitive. So if you're given the option, he loves playing in the yard, and he loves to play in the yard, I'm not sure why this is a rule, but it is. It's he loves to play in the yard. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're taking the ACT, that it's going to have that infinitive if it follows a verb. Adjectives and adverbs show up on the ACT sometimes against each other, and what you have to remember is simple. Adjectives have one job, one function. They describe nouns. He is a strange guy. The adjective strange describes the word guy. Adverbs are a little bit more versatile. They can do multiple things. It says she looked at me strangely. Now here it's an adverb, and it's modifying the verb looked. How did she look at me? She looked at me strangely. But the other thing, and this is where ACT will look for, I find her strangely attractive. Adverbs modify adjectives sometimes as well. All right, so look out for that. It's not going to be, I find her strange attractive. I find her strangely attractive. And my last tip for you is when there are introductory phrases, be they prepositional phrases, participial phrases, gerund phrases, whatever the case, you're going to put a comma after them and right before the main sentence. So it says, on my way to the movies, I grabbed a snack. The real sentence here is, I grabbed a snack. This little introductory phrase needs a comma after it. Pumping gasoline, I was lost in deep thought. Again, the sentence is, I was lost in deep thought, so we need a comma after pumping gasoline. So please use these tips on the final two ACT passages as well as the ACT itself in a couple of weeks, and go back and look at the first ACT tip videos as well, as those same things show up on all of these passages.